My childhood friend is not a normal person. He has a philandering but very wealthy father and a mother who is a bit crazy and likes bloody paintings. With such a background, anyone who hears about it would say he's pitiful. Our two families have been on good terms for years. My mother felt sorry for him and asked me to play with him. If this guy were to enter the acting industry, I think it wouldn't be long before we'd see the youngest Oscar-winning actor in history. In front of adults, he always acts weak, innocent, and adorable. His round black eyes droop at the corners, looking as harmless as can be. Maybe it's because I'm younger. He doesn't even bother to put on an act in front of me. I don't care about him either. As the saying goes, fathers don't bother me. I won't bother them. As long as he doesn't provoke me, I won't bother him. When we were kids, we could always spend an afternoon in peace. Probably he'd read his books while I played with my toys. We ignored each other, as if we were in two completely separate worlds. When we were 4 or 5 years old, a dying beautiful butterfly flew into his house. When I came in, I saw him holding the butterfly in his hand, staring intently at it. I don't know what he was thinking. I asked him at that time, "Did you do this to it?" He slowly looked up, his dark eyes calm and unreadable. "No." Well, he never bothered to lie to me anyway. I leaned in to take a closer look at the pure white butterfly and said calmly, "It's not going to make it. Shouldn't we call a vet?" "It's too late." His young voice came out cold and flat. The butterfly's wings trembled slightly. Its pure white and broad left wing had been torn off, and it lay in his hand, looking in great pain. He took a few pieces of toilet paper, placed them on the table, then put the butterfly on it. Then he picked up a thick book and smashed it down quickly and forcefully. The entire sequence of actions was smooth and effortless, his expression never changing. I spoke up. "You're not kind at all. This is so harsh." He said calmly, "Being kind without sense only brings it more pain." Later, when we were both in elementary school and I was 7, we sat on the playground sharing bread. He wasn't interested in food at all, but he'd light up whenever he got something from me, so I always gave him what I had. That evening, the sunset was as red as blood, painting half the sky in a dazzling glow. Suddenly he spoke up, telling me how frustrated he felt with his mother, and that he wanted to send that unstable woman to a mental health facility. I chewed on my bread and gave a brief just to let him know I'd heard. The next day he didn't show up for school, and I couldn't shake a bad feeling. By lunchtime, I went home and told my mother he hadn't come to class. My mother rushed me to his house, where we found him in the innermost room, covered in blood. He was carried in the arms of rescuers, with part of his scalp torn off, his eyes half open and unfocused, lips pale and lifeless, and a red mark on his face like a handprint. His slender, limp arms hung down weakly, marked with deep scratches, smeared all over with blood that dripped slowly from the tips of his fingers. His right leg was twisted at an unnatural angle, his clothes torn to shreds, and his shoes were completely gone. I was happily drinking my milk when I saw him in that state. My stomach turned instantly, and I nearly threw up. He finally got what he wanted. His mother was admitted to a psychiatric facility, and so was he. The private room was spacious and had cameras monitoring the area, but thankfully no audio recording, so we could chat freely. Adults gave us kids some time alone. I sat on the hospital bed eating an apple. He looked annoyed. "Go eat somewhere else." I saw he was upset, and I couldn't help but smile. "No way." Then he changed his mind. "Fine. Then get one for me. I want one too." I rolled my eyes. "Just make it yourself." "I'm the one who's sick," he argued firmly. "I'm not a doctor." I shot back. "You're here to take care of me, aren't you?" He pouted. I almost couldn't believe it. I was so angry I bit into the apple hard enough that it made a sharp crunch sound. "Watch your words," I said. "I came to see you, not to take care of you." I couldn't stand his fake helpless act. I stood up to leave, but he suddenly grabbed my hand and whispered weakly with a tearful tone, "Can't you just feel sorry for me?" I didn't hesitate. I pulled my hand away. "No." He buried himself under the blanket, whispering just loud enough for me to hear. "Just leave. I don't want to see you." I always do the opposite of what he wants. So I immediately sat back down and patted the lump under the blanket. Come on out. Let's play. He peeked his head out, eyes wide and glistening like a puppy's. I don't want to play with you. Whatever, I said with a teasing grin. I'm the one who wants to play. Even if you were buried underground, I'd dig you up just to keep playing. All right then. He smiled, eyes crinkling. It's a deal. When we first started middle school, there were some troublemakers around who would snatch money from people. Since our identities were well protected, we didn't have bodyguards with us except when going to and from school. Sometimes we'd sneak out during lunch breaks by climbing over the wall, and that's how we ended up becoming targets for their attacks and threats. We were trapped in a narrow alley, but my high-end smartwatch had already sent out my location. Now I just needed to buy some time. To my surprise, the guy next to me panicked at the first sign of danger and acted terrified on purpose, accidentally letting slip that his watch was worth a lot. Then it got taken without hesitation. My watch was snatched right along with his too. After the group of troublemakers left, he immediately dropped the act. I leaned against the wall and asked him what he was planning. He gave a faint smile. That watch was worth 7 figures. I was speechless at first, then went straight home and reported it to the police. Thanks to the tracking system, they were caught easily and ended up facing serious consequences. When he started high school, his family lost everything. His father was imprisoned, and his mother died by suicide in a mental health facility. When the roof collapsed, everyone mocked him without mercy. He still came to school every day, doing well in his studies, though he was barely getting by on scholarship money. His guardian became his grandfather, who disliked him deeply and constantly yelled at or hit him. He ended up living in a rundown neighborhood, where the old gate was often painted red with graffiti, making him feel like a stray dog avoiding attention. Our paths didn't cross again until that girl showed up. The girl was named Isabella. Isabella came from an ordinary family, had a naturally gentle appearance, and was lively and cheerful, easy to like. After a car accident, Isabella started showing up around Lucas in an unexpected way. I looked into her and found that she seemed to have some serious mindset issues. She believed she was here to save Lucas, that she was his light. Thought, another naive person fooled by Lucas again. I stopped paying attention to the two of them. I'm not someone who gets involved in other people's affairs. But one day, Lucas suddenly went missing. I knew it was a trap, but I still went anyway. The old factory, filled with a foul stench, had been completely reduced to ashes by a massive fire. Lucas leaned weakly against my shoulder, and I couldn't help but mock him. Seriously, how did you end up in such a mess again? He let out a soft chuckle, speaking slowly. It really hurts. Deserved. Chloe. He suddenly called out my name. What? I snapped, impatient. He fixed his gaze on me, eyes dark and clear, pure and innocent like a deer from the mountains, untouched by the world. A smooth, gentle voice whispered in my ear, soft as a lover's hush. Did you come to save me? No. I snapped quickly. I came to clean up after you. Guess I showed up too early. Lucas frowned at my reply and turned his head away, ignoring me. I glanced at his strikingly handsome profile and suddenly remembered how in fairy tales, evil beings often wear beautiful disguises, just to fool people more easily. Turns out, fairy tales weren't lying after all. Lucas stayed close to me all the way home, and when I came out of my bedroom, there he was, sitting quietly on the sofa watching TV. His hair hung limp and still dripping water as he lounged casually. A towel was draped over his shoulders, but he made no move to dry himself. He just waited for me to do it. The robe hung loosely on him, the sash dangling down and tied in a careless knot. His skin glowed pale and smooth like porcelain, exposed in wide patches. A drop of water clung to his damp lashes, tracing a slow path down his cheek before disappearing near his collarbone. I walked over and wrapped him tightly in a blanket. Get dressed properly, I said. I have no interest in someone with such a slender frame. He tilted his face up at me, lips pressed together, looking utterly innocent. I roughly dried his hair, making the fine black strands stand up in all directions like a startled cat. He didn't seem to mind. After his hair was dry, he reached for food as if he belonged there. The plump grapes had to be bitten in half. The juice moistened his lips, and a soft pink tongue slipped out, gently tracing along the delicate petals. I couldn't help but admire him. This creature truly had an exquisite appearance. Noticing my gaze, he turned slightly and gave me a soft smile, bright-eyed, sweet, and utterly charming. I was briefly caught off guard, then quickly snapped back to reality. I was startled. Thank goodness I remembered he's a cold-hearted creature, or I might have actually fallen for him. Hey, I kicked his leg lightly. What exactly do you think of Isabella? He took his time peeling the grape skin, and because his hands were so graceful, the whole motion felt soothing to watch. His nails were neatly rounded, and his slender fingers, delicate and long, curled slightly at the tips, with soft pink hues around the knuckles. After finishing, Lucas examined it under the light, then gently slipped it into my mouth. I don't really have any feelings for her, just wanted to tease you. What about you? Lucas tilted his head and spoke softly. Did seeing me close to her stir even the tiniest bit of jealousy in you? I gave a dull reply. No, you're using her. But she seems to genuinely care about you. Truly care about me? Lucas furrowed his delicate brows, repeating the word with mild confusion. Genuinely. He suddenly laughed. Just a deluded fool who thinks she can save me. I finally started chewing the grape in my mouth. You're rotten to the core. Don't talk about saving anyone. Yeah, Lucas said with a quiet sigh, his dark eyes gleaming with amusement. But so are you. I gave a half-hearted fist bump to him. We're about even. Lucas stayed at our place for days on end, and I told him to leave, but he refused to go. I had no choice but to compromise. How about we go to school together? Okay? Lucas smiled warmly. Sure. After school. I thought Lucas would come over again as usual, but instead he shook his head and said he had to go work. I leaned against the car door and decided to playfully ask, "Where are you working? Need help finding a job?" Lucas didn't seem upset at all. He actually looked excited. Sure. That'd be great. I teased with a mischievous grin. How about working at a nightclub, serving drinks? With your look, you'd probably earn good pay. Exactly. I chuckled softly, my tone carrying quiet amusement. This kind of tough, demanding job. Don't know if you'd be able to keep going. Lucas grinned brightly. That's exactly what I want. Something told me this guy was definitely up to something. So under the cover of a dark and quiet night, I disguised myself and quietly slipped into that nightclub. To be honest, the outfit suited Lucas perfectly, highlighting his frame in just the right way. Shoulders neither too broad nor narrow, a lean and strong waist, a defined shape at the hips, and long, graceful legs wrapped in simple black fabric. His fluffy, soft black hair framed a delicate neck when he lowered his head, with large, bright eyes that sparkled like glass. When he smiled, it was so gentle and innocent, almost too easy to take advantage of. The young man had grown tall and slender, his frame a bit thin, yet standing straight as a sturdy pine tree from afar. In the midst of dazzling lights and swirling chaos, he stood apart, calm, untouched by the world around him. The scene unfolded just like any predictable story, the kind where two troublemakers show up looking for a fight. After some pushing and shouting, the lead man grew furious, raising a bottle high and bringing it down hard toward Lucas's head. I watched calmly, just as I knew would happen. Someone stepped in to save him. A composed, authoritative man stepped in and rescued Lucas. Lucas sat slumped on the ground, a trickle of blood staining his soft cheek, making him appear strikingly beautiful, like a single blossom blooming amidst the snow. The scene was chaotic. The mature man knelt beside Lucas and lifted him into a gentle hold. Through the crowded space, Lucas's eyes met mine, dark pupils, calm and unreadable. Lucas shifted his gaze slightly and softly closed his eyes. I quietly slipped away, making a call along the way, and successfully obtained the information I was after. The third son of the Chin family returned from studying abroad. So this is Lucas's new target? That's interesting. Lucas was supported by Michael, and during lunch break checks, I slipped away quietly and met up with Lucas leaning against the wall corner. I had a lollipop in my mouth, mumbling unclearly. "Don't you find it annoying that you're always calling him brother?" Lucas replied casually. "Who cares? As long as I get what I want, I'll do whatever it takes." "What exactly are you after?" "The Cheen family. You've got quite a big ambition. They saved you, and this is how you repay them?" "Chloe." Lucas suddenly leaned in close, his nose almost touching mine, warm breath brushing against my face as he softly said, "Do you know what their eyes look like when they're watching me? They're obsessed and tense, almost possessive. It's like they're trying to take something from me, which is why they come near with clear intent. Or, I always use people. I've never let anyone else use me." Lucas smiled brightly, so vivid and striking it was like a valley full of blooming flowers. Lucas's gaze grew darker as his slender fingers gently lifted a few strands of my hair, winding them around his fingertips. He murmured, "Michael. Just another stepping stone for me." At the same time, Lucas suddenly yanked hard, pulling a few strands of my hair. My scalp tingled, and I muttered, "What's wrong with you? Don't grab my hair like that." Sorry, Lucas said, pulling his hand behind his back and blinking innocently. "Won't happen again." Thanks to the competition, Lucas secured a direct admission offer to a university, the top school in the country. Suddenly, someone came forward with accusations, claiming Lucas had an irresponsible personal life and worked at bars for extra income. The situation quickly stirred up a storm of public attention. Yet Isabella stood firmly by Lucas's side without hesitation. "Why do you believe in me so much?" Lucas asked her. Isabella held his hand and said, "Because I know you're not like that. Going to the bar was just a job, right?" "Yeah." Lucas forced a smile. "I just didn't have much money lately." Isabella looked at him with deep concern. "It's going to be okay. Everything will get better." Thanks to Michael stepping in, the situation eventually faded away without further trouble. Lucas still got his recommendation spot, and Isabella was even more thrilled than he was. "Oh my gosh, Lucas, that's amazing." Lucas smiled gently, his eyes soft with warmth. The girl looked shy, her mind already drifting into thoughts of their future. "My grades aren't as good as yours, so I'm thinking about applying to H University. That way, at least we'd be in the same city." Isabella bit her lower lip, eyes filled with quiet hope as she looked at Lucas. "What about you? Do you want to be together?" Isabella gently took hold of Lucas's index finger. Though his smile remained soft and kind, there was an icy chill in his eyes. Slowly, he pulled his hand away, his voice smooth and clear like a stream flowing through the heart. With tender words, he spoke the cruelest truth imaginable. "Not at all." Her face turned pale in an instant, flustered and unsure. Lucas leaned down close to her ear and added one final blow. "I've always hated you. You think you're so special." I climbed over the school wall and passed by a small alleyway when, to my surprise, I found Isabella hiding inside, the perfect student skipping class. That's shocking. That caught me off guard. I was just about to step in and say hello when she started speaking in a frantic tone. What went wrong? This shouldn't be happening. Why isn't he seeing me as his only hope? Why is my connection score negative? System, what's going on here? Then what were we even building before? Was everything just pretend? There has to be a mistake. Why is my energy level dropping like this? No. I don't want to be erased. Not like this. Isabella cried out. It's all because of him. It's all his fault, Lucas. Lucas. Suddenly, I felt dizzy and disoriented, then heard a cold mechanical voice announcing, "Operation to seize the fate of designated main character Lucas in World 7 has failed. Host Nora will be forcibly terminated. Countdown." A blinding flash of white light swept through. Then everything went still again. I looked at Isabella lying unconscious in the alleyway and felt completely overwhelmed. There's something off here. I feel like I'm missing something. How did Isabella end up passed out like this? I took Isabella back home, then went to get a brain scan for myself. Lucas came over with a sarcastic smirk. Finally realizing your mind isn't quite right? I didn't bother responding. How's Isabella doing? Something's strange, Lucas said. She can't remember anything from the past few weeks. She thinks she's still living back in the time before. Lucas paused, then added, the period where her behavior changed. That's exactly when her memory went missing. I stared at Lucas, fleeting images flickering in my mind, a sharp pain throbbing through my head. Lucas reached out to steady me, asking what was wrong. I realized the closer I got to him, the clearer my memories became. Without hesitation, I blurted out, Lucas, come stay at my place. It was rare for me to invite Lucas into my private space. He stepped onto my fluffy rug barefoot, clearly a little awkward. Seeing that look on his face made me feel unusually pleased. I patted the big bed with a confident air and said, come on, sweetheart. Sit down. Lucas shot me an exasperated look but still came over, sprawling lazily onto the bed with his feet dangling, then asked casually, so what's going on? I lay down beside Lucas, scooting closer to him and quietly trying to piece together what happened back then. Lucas lay on his side, his cheeks slightly squished, lips gently parted, eyes fixed on me with quiet focus. I didn't feel anything unusual and still couldn't recall anything, so I suddenly grabbed Lucas's hand. He startled at first but didn't pull away, instead giving me a cautious look. What's going on? I ignored him as fragmented memories flashed through my mind, the intense pressure in my head making me feel utterly overwhelmed. Lucas noticed something was wrong and grew visibly anxious. After a moment, he seemed to realize what was happening and quickly pulled his hand back. Chloe, are you okay? Lucas reached out toward me but pulled back just before touching, clenching his fist tightly. I gasped sharply as if waking from a nightmare, curling up into a tight ball without reason. After regaining my composure, I managed a calm smile and told Lucas, I think I've gotten a hint of what's going on. I briefly explained to Lucas what I'd seen that day and shared my thoughts. There are two possibilities. First, Isabella might be unstable, but the mechanical sound I heard was real, so we'll hold on to that for now. Second, based on what I remember, there are countless worlds beyond our own, some big, some small. Our world is known as the seventh designated world. From my understanding, each world has a main character, the so-called lucky one, and in this world, that person is you, Lucas. I looked at Lucas. His pupils were unfocused, and he gave a faint smile before whispering, this is insane. I took a deep breath. I know this sounds unbelievable, and I'm still doubtful about how true it all is, but given everything that's happened, it actually seems quite possible. I don't think anyone could have altered my memories without me noticing. Lucas turned his head toward the closed curtains and said calmly, this is absurd. So my entire life has been manipulated all along. No, I quickly replied. They can't control your actions directly. They must be using some methods we don't understand to take away the so-called luck you possess. In other words, you've become a prime target. Countless people will keep coming around just to win your trust, and then take what they want. Lucas bit his finger and lowered his gaze. Can those hosts with systems really not see my affection level? I nodded. That must be it, otherwise, Isabella wouldn't have stayed fooled by you for so long. Why is that? Lucas tilted his head, sounding genuinely curious. Usually, shouldn't they be able to check my likability level, or how much I've turned dark? His question made me pause. Maybe it's because your luck is too strong. They can't force their way into knowing about it. Lucas let out a soft chuckle. If that's true, then I must be pretty special. I counted on my fingers. Isabella and Michael so far. 2 outsiders have shown up. No. Lucas shook his head. Andrew is the 5th one. According to Lucas, the first person who made him feel deeply uneasy from within was the daughter of the family nanny. Later on, 2 more appeared. His elementary school desk partner, a sweet little boy with fair skin and gentle looks, and then a senior student council leader from high school. I jotted down their names, and Lucas added, they all changed just like Isabella, suddenly turning different, returning to normal after some time, and briefly forgetting the period they spent with me. Could it be that they only had a limited time to win you over? I said. Lucas leaned back lazily. It's not impossible, but honestly, It was just me getting bored and using up their usefulness before letting them go. That's when they'd snap back to normal. Oh, I said, quickly processing the information, then gave Lucas a teasing glance. I didn't expect you to take this so well. Lucas answered honestly. I'd already suspected something like that. After speaking, Lucas gave a mischievous smile. So how about you? How well do you think you'd handle it? I shrugged. Should be pretty good. Lucas paused, then said quietly, You're not your father's biological daughter. The so-called kind-hearted Lucas helped me find my real parents. I'm truly grateful. My biological parents come from a fairly influential family, though the situation is a bit complicated. My birth mother passed away long ago, and now Hazel, the stepmother, is in charge, basically someone who took over after coming between them. Funny enough, this stepmom has an older child than me named Sebastian. The first time I met him, he was dressed with remarkable elegance. He wore a white shirt and gold-rimmed round glasses, had soft, gentle eyes that seemed to carry warmth, and always wore a faintly amused smile. I whispered to Lucas, He's actually quite handsome. Lucas gave a tight-lipped smile. Like this kind of guy. I shot back, You know what? He's my half-brother on the same father. So what do you think of him? Not really my type. You're way better looking. Lucas finally seemed satisfied and pretended to strike up a conversation with Sebastian. I watched their silhouettes, my gaze growing heavy. It was strange. Really, I felt an odd sense of familiarity the moment I met Sebastian. I didn't feel any warmth toward him as I'd expected. Instead, I felt deep discomfort, aversion, even strong dislike. Could it be that we have some kind of past conflict? The Lin family's biological daughter had a fiery temper and countless flaws. She didn't act like the proper young lady of an elite family, lacking restraint, stubborn, impulsive, and speaking without thinking. That mother and son really know how to play their cards, letting the legitimate daughter act so unrefined and out of line. Compared to them, Sebastian is truly graceful and composed. His manners are impeccable. If he weren't given the inheritance, I'd be the first to speak up. Hazel pulled my hand and forced a few tears onto her cheeks. You've been through so much these years. I played along with her. It's all right, Auntie. My parents have always treated me well. I paused, hesitated a little, then added softly, Auntie, where's my real father? Hazel went on and on with her explanation, saying my dad was just too busy at work to make it. The unspoken message was clear. He doesn't care about you at all. I understood what she meant, but I pretended not to, keeping my head down in silence. Sebastian appeared beside me without warning, his face refined and serene as he smiled gently. Hello, I'm Sebastian. I paused for a moment, then quickly shook his hand. Hi, I'm Chloe. While we were all putting on a convincing act, chaos was already breaking out elsewhere. Emilia, the biological daughter, complained about everything, leaving the Lin family parents visibly uncomfortable. Even more shocking was her bold declaration that she didn't want to return at all. She insisted she would always be the Shang family's eldest daughter, and that her mother and brother would dote on her forever. Lucas bit his lower lip lightly, his eyes sparkling with amusement at the unfolding scene. Hazel and Sebastian quickly stepped in to mediate, trying their best to calm things down. After much effort, they ultimately decided it was best to take me away first. Miss Emilia wasn't happy at all, and Sebastian gently soothed her for a long while. I didn't feel a single ripple inside me, truth be told. I was almost tempted to grab some snacks. The room was in chaos, but Lucas's attempt to enjoy the scene backfired. He got kicked out by me. Now I stood alone in the corner, watching everything unfold, doing my best to hold back a smirk and pretending to look hurt and left out. After calming her down, Sebastian came over with genuine regret, explaining that his sister meant no harm. Behind him, Emilia lifted her chin proudly and gave a dismissive little laugh. I quickly lowered my head and quietly answered, Yes. Sebastian looked so concerned that he slowly reached out and gently patted my head, as if offering comfort. Emilia snapped again. I couldn't help but smile inwardly. Sebastian must have had such a tough time over the years. I bet he's already eager to trade me back for that easy-to-manage little sister of his. Too bad. Though, the lady's stubborn nature means she'll probably stir up trouble between both families. The real show was about to begin. I was temporarily brought back to the Shang family. They had prepared a huge princess-style room for me, soft pink tones everywhere. I stood there in silence for a while, stunned by how overwhelming it all felt, before finally forcing out a small smile. "It's nice." Lucas burst out laughing. "My dear little princess, do you like the room?" I picked it out myself. I clenched my phone tightly, gritting my teeth. "Of course it's your doing." Before I could say another word, there was a knock at the door. I quickly shoved my phone under the covers. "Come in." Sebastian stood in the doorway, a soft smile on his face. "Did I interrupt anything?" I sat up straight, my hands neatly folded on my lap, and answered nervously, "No." After speaking, I lowered my head and pressed my foot against the fluffy, cozy carpet. Lucas has good taste. This velvet carpet is really cozy and I like it a lot. The room fell into an awkward silence. Then Sebastian decided to take the lead, stepping in slowly with a relaxed expression. "May I call you Chloe?" I didn't look at him. "Yeah, that's fine." He settled down beside me naturally. "You can call me brother, if you'd like." I paused for a moment, gathered my thoughts, and said in a quiet tone, "Brother." Sebastian gave a soft smile, gently ruffled my hair affectionately, then stayed silent. "Is there anything you especially like to eat? I can make it for you." Hearing that, I froze. "You know how to cook?" Sebastian gave a playful wink. "Don't underestimate me. I'm really good at cooking. I can also make desserts, small cookies and things like that," he added. I thought for a moment. Cranberry cookies would be great. Thanks in advance. "Of course, not a problem. I'm really happy to make something special for you," Sebastian said, his voice warm and clear like water flowing through stillness. Suddenly, he seemed lost in thought, his tone growing quieter and more somber. "I've owed you so much over the years." I quickly reassured him. "It's all right, I really do have great parents. Why can't you all just believe that?" Sebastian gave me a faint, bittersweet smile and said, "That's not what I mean." He stood up and forced a cheerful tone. "All right, let's not talk about this anymore. I need to get baking cookies. Can't have our little princess going hungry." I couldn't help but laugh. Cookies don't really satisfy hunger. Sebastian closed the door behind him, and I pulled out my phone. The call was still connected. Just as I was about to hang up, Lucas's voice suddenly came through the phone, flat and stiff like a stone. "I want some cookies too." "Got it," I said. "I'll sneak you two later." I sat quietly in the dining room waiting, and Sebastian peeked his head around, gave a quick nod, and mouthed that it was almost ready. A little while later, Sebastian appeared in a bear-print apron, shining with energy. Seeing me still looking at his apron, he looked a bit shy. "Kind of silly, huh?" "No." I smiled warmly. "It's really cute." The cookies were shaped like little bears, adorable and surprisingly delicious. Sebastian was thoughtful, and to make sure I wouldn't have leftovers, he carefully sealed the remaining cookies in a bag. Just as he finished, his phone started buzzing. Flustered, Sebastian quickly answered. "What's going on?" "Emilia." After a long conversation, they finally ended the call. Sebastian turned to me and said, "Sorry, Chloe, Emilia's run into something urgent. I need to head over right away." I smiled warmly. "It's totally fine, you go ahead. I was actually planning to head out too." Sebastian let out a sigh and hurried out the door. The moment he left, I couldn't help but cheer silently, shoving all the cookies into my pocket in one go before calling Lucas to meet up. The place we met was our usual dessert shop, decorated in a cozy and charming way. I arrived early, so I'd already ordered something to eat. Who would have thought Lucas, of all people, would love strawberry cake the most? The bell above the door rang ding-dong, and in walked someone. Lucas. His figure was tall and slender, wearing a large gray hoodie that didn't fit well, making him look like a kid who'd borrowed clothes from an adult. Lucas sat down across from me, and I handed over the cookies. He opened them with a quiet sigh and quickly popped one into his mouth. His eyes lit up instantly. Delicious, Lucas said, surprise glowing across his face. I stirred my coffee with milk and sugar, saying casually, I think it's good too, though I'm not really into sweets. Then I pushed the cup toward him. Lucas took a few sips, and that's when I finally got to my point. What were you doing running a DNA test for fun? I just suddenly remembered Andrew saying the girl from the Shang family wasn't actually their biological child, and then I noticed how much you two look alike. So I decided to give it a try. Lucas picked up a strawberry with his fork and said casually, I didn't expect it to actually match. Honestly, I'm pretty surprised too. I mentally rolled my eyes but kept a neutral expression, simply saying, oh, you really know how to throw me into trouble, kid. Oh, by the way, I looked up, puzzled. Lucas rested his chin on his hand, a hint of worry in his delicate features. Andrew wants to start something serious with me. What should I do? I knew full well that Lucas would go to any lengths to get what he wanted, but when I realized he was actually considering it, a flicker of irritation stirred inside me. So you're planning to use your charm again? The smile vanished from Lucas's face. His dark eyes grew unreadable, deep and shadowed. After a long pause, he tilted his head slightly and leaned in casually. You're upset, aren't you? I reached out, expressionless, gripping the soft flesh of his cheek tightly. Lucas let out a series of startled yelps, begging me to stop through laughter and whining. Okay, I'm sorry. It hurts. As soon as I released him, Lucas quickly leaned back with a quick jerk, instinctively clutching his cheek. He glared at me, teeth slightly bared, like a cat whose fur had just stood on end. The phone on the table buzzed softly. I glanced down and asked, shall we answer? It's Andrew. Lucas smirked, his eyes flickering with a quiet spark. Of course I'll pick up, after all. He's always watching me closely. He then grabbed the phone and spoke in a sweet tone. Brother, I'm with Chloe right now, so there's no need for you to come get me. All right, I'll wait for you then. He ended the call, set his phone aside, and went back to happily eating his little cake. He stuck the fork in his mouth, suddenly snapped his head toward me with a quick wave, motioning for me to sit beside him. I sighed and reluctantly moved over. He typed rapidly on his phone, then showed me the screen. I glanced sideways and saw, right in the chat window between him and me, a clearly visible message. Mad at me? No worries, love you. My heart skipped a beat. I instinctively turned to look at him, and Lucas was smiling softly. My face turned red. I quickly looked away from him and muttered, go away. A black car slowly drove up outside the shop, and Lucas leaned forward to peek out. A man stepped out of the car, wearing a gray coat, tall and slender, walking casually up the steps. Andrew had striking features, sharp, composed facial lines, long eyelids, pale lips, and an expression that never seemed to soften. His presence made him seem distant when he wasn't smiling. Lucas rushed toward him, and Andrew warmly pulled him into a hug, his smile gentle like melting snow. Did you have fun? Yeah. Lucas nodded emphatically. Andrew turned toward me and gave a gentle smile, as if greeting me warmly. That night didn't go well. I had a strange dream. In the dream, I found myself in a ruined landscape, with blood-red clouds drifting across the sky, and sharp warning sounds echoing all around me. Alert! Alert! The fate-bound one's corruption level has reached %. Host, evacuate immediately. My body felt frozen solid, a deep cold spreading through my chest, my mind going numb as I couldn't move at all. Everything ahead appeared hazy and dim, with mechanical sounds piercing my ears, growing louder with each passing moment. Warning! Warning! Evacuate immediately. Host, evacuate the grand world right away. My vision gradually cleared, and I saw a lone figure stumbling forward in the distance. That person was Lucas. He wasn't quite like the boy I remembered, no longer a shy youth. His features remained strikingly handsome, but his frame had grown tall and lean. His hair was pushed up, revealing a smooth, well-shaped forehead. His eyes, sharp like raven wings, hung low at the corners, with a faint upward curve at the outer edges. He was clean, wearing a simple white outfit that made his features appear delicate and refined, yet his expression was deeply unsettled. "Chloe," he said my name so softly, I couldn't catch my breath, as if someone had tightly gripped my heart. Why would you do this to me?" Lucas's voice was thick with sorrow, his tears flowing like a faint blush of ink spreading across a scroll. "Why?" He reached out blindly, as if trying to grasp at something unseen. I finally noticed his eyes were clouded and pale, unfocused, with red rims filled with tears that slowly spilled over. Lucas cried as if he were a child who had fallen down and couldn't stop sobbing in distress. I finally broke free, drenched in cold sweat, my body stiff as I reached out to touch his fingertips. Lucas froze for a moment, then pulled me into his arms with an intense grip, as if he wanted to merge me completely into himself. A chill ran down my back, and by the time I realized what was happening, Lucas had already plunged a small knife into my body. He pulled me back into his arms, pressing his lips against mine. "Never leave me again," Lucas whispered, nuzzling his head into my neck with a tender gesture. "Chloe, I hate you. So you can't leave me again." I found myself lost in thought, troubled by a strange and confusing dream that made no sense at all. I was about to get a drink of water, my feet sinking into the soft carpet as I searched blindly for the slippers kicked somewhere out of sight, finally managing to slip them on before opening the door and stepping outside with eyes still heavy from sleep. Being new to this house, I wasn't familiar with its layout, so I relied on memories of what I'd seen during the day to find the water dispenser. As I passed by the staircase, my eyes instinctively flicked upward. Nothing seemed out of place, yet that odd mix of familiarity and discomfort crept over me again. I didn't even care about getting a drink anymore. If I remembered right, both Sebastian and Emilia's rooms were on the 3rd floor. I tiptoed upstairs and reached the corner room. Its door was tightly shut. I stood at the doorway, thinking for a moment. Then it came back to me. It must be Sebastian's room. I glanced around, but everything was completely silent. Recalling how distant Sebastian had been and that strange dream, my mind suddenly filled with wild thoughts. Couldn't be, could it? I gripped the doorknob tightly, finally made up my mind, and slowly pushed the door open. The room was dark, but Sebastian wasn't asleep. Faint moonlight seeped through the window, casting a soft glow. Sebastian sat rigidly on the edge of the bed, head lowered, completely still. For a few seconds, silence hung thick in the air. Then Sebastian suddenly turned his head, his expression blank. Yet his eyes glowed with an eerie blue light. When I woke up again, I was still safely in my own room, Isabella, just as calm and unchanged as before, as if nothing had happened at all. As I got out of bed, a wave of dizziness hit me, nearly causing me to stumble. I managed to catch myself on the nightstand, rubbing my temples. I walked into the hall and noticed the dining table was already empty. Everyone had left. Only the elderly butler greeted me warmly, asking what I'd like to eat, offering to make it himself. Dazed and disoriented, I murmured, "What day is it today?" The butler responded respectfully, "It's the XXD. What on earth?" I've slipped into another day again with someone trying to erase my memories, but failed. Last time, I only managed to remember with Lucas's help. Why didn't I forget this time at all? I ate the meal without really tasting it, quickly wiped my mouth, and headed out. I still decided to tell Lucas first, but I stepped outside and then pulled back right away. There's just something off about this. Something strange is going on? I kept thinking back over my interactions with Sebastian, and the unease in me grew stronger. That strange dream, and Sebastian's unusual behavior. His eyes, they felt like those of a machine. I realized the key to this mystery might lie in that dream, so I pretended to be checking my phone while my mind raced with thoughts. This hazy, uncertain dream, set against a ruined landscape, felt so vivid and real, as if I'd actually lived through it. It could be something my mind made up, or maybe I truly experienced it once and simply forgot. Could it be that this dream is a glimpse of the future? Do I actually have the ability to foresee what's coming? I let out a soft sigh, my thoughts suddenly coming to a complete halt. Just then, Lucas called me. I was about to give him an update when I heard his voice come through. Calm but serious. Chloe. It was rare to hear him speak my name so seriously, almost like a warning, and it made me feel oddly intrigued. Then I heard him slowly drop a bombshell, as if he were testing the waters first. The world might have been reset before. A sudden jolt ran through me, my fingertips tingling as if struck by lightning. After a long moment, I managed to calm down and said, I think I had a dream. I asked Lucas how he knew the world might have been reset, and he casually replied, Andrew told me. I noticed something was off. Andrew's been acting really anxious lately. I'm not sure what's bothering him, but it feels less like stress and more like fear. What is he afraid of? I asked. Lucas paused for a moment, took a slow breath, and his voice carried a hint of confusion. Afraid of being left behind. He just seems so unsure of himself. Do you know what her first reaction was after I finally broke things off with Isabella? Lucas paused, then said quietly, fear, just like Andrew. She was completely overwhelmed by it. I've been wondering for a long time what exactly they're afraid of. Now I'm starting to get an idea. The people trying to win me over have never met each other. They seem completely unaware that someone else is doing the same thing. The timing of each new person showing up lines up perfectly with when the previous one was about to fail and get pulled back for reset. Then it suddenly clicked. It's like they sense someone is about to fail, so they immediately send in a replacement. Yeah, Lucas confirmed. So I think Andrew might have sensed the new player arrived. And that's why he's scared. Afraid of failing his mission. Afraid of being reset. Like a snake flicking its tongue. Lucas said with a light tone. I decided to take the initiative. Andrew was completely off guard. Manipulating him was almost too easy. I drained his resources without much effort. After the truth came out, he trembled as he asked me why. I just told him straight. He was right about my motives all along. I didn't hold back. And yet he still wasn't satisfied. I deliberately provoked him, laid everything bare to make him lose control. Once his anger burned out, slumped on the couch, I held his throat and demanded to know what he really was. He stared at me with pure rage, grinding his teeth as he said, no wonder the world had to restart, you're insane. Lucas chuckled lightly, teasing, honestly, that's all he could come up with? Insane. Doesn't have any better insults. I moved my lips slightly and finally said, so, did he pass out right after saying that? About right. Lucas's tone turned cold now, a sharp edge beneath the words as it came through the phone. I didn't hear any system sounds, no bright lights. In my view, Andrew just stopped mid-sentence. His eyes widened in terror, muttering, help me. Don't. Then, Lucas stretched out the silence before suddenly dropping his voice. And that was it. I closed my eyes and slowly spoke my thoughts. If what you're saying is true, then the world has been reset once before. That means, I might have been a player in my past life too. Even completed your mission, really impressive. Lucas said, voice soft and affectionate, like he was comforting a child. But I knew exactly what his face looked like, smiling, yet empty inside. I still couldn't shake the feeling of doubt. I scratched my head and said, but I don't have a system. Right now, Sebastian seems much more like the new player than I do. When was Sebastian replaced? There were no accidents, no signs noticed by Lucas. Masterful acting that perfectly mirrored the original Sebastian. Seriously. Can a person really do something like that? He's not a machine. After all, a machine? Why do I keep thinking Sebastian might be a machine? Once the thought took root, it spread like weeds after rain. Machine. Machine, I kept repeating those words over and over, which made Lucas frown and mutter. What are you talking about? What machine? I let out a long breath, feeling lighter than before, and said with rare ease, it's nothing. Just suddenly realized Sebastian isn't the one being guided. He's just been replaced by the system. Right now, what I'm most curious about is what this so-called system is actually trying to achieve. The system has taken over Sebastian's body, and its real target wasn't Lucas, it was me. It deliberately used Lucas's carefree attitude to create a natural way to get close to me. Lucas probably realized he'd been tricked. and knowing he'd handed me over himself, he got so upset he hung up abruptly. I couldn't help but feel a little annoyed by his little outburst, still trying to figure out how to make it up to him when the phone rang again. Lucas said, annoyed, "Just be careful around Sebastian. I seriously think he's trying to get close to you just to win me over." Hearing that, I paused for a moment, recalling the strange dream, and couldn't help letting out a soft laugh. Actually, you might just be right. Before I could even try to figure out Sebastian's intentions, he showed up himself. He still looked calm and composed, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Chloe, did you know Andrew is in the hospital?" "What?" I was genuinely surprised. "What happened?" "Apparently, he passed out from overworking," Sebastian said, his eyebrows giving a slight frown as he added with mild annoyance, "That workaholic. I've been saying this would happen eventually." I thought to myself how convincingly he was playing his part, but I still put on a sincere expression. "You should take care of your health too. Make sure you rest properly." Sebastian tilted his head slightly, his sharp gaze sweeping over me through his glasses. After studying me for a moment, he suddenly let out a soft chuckle. "Chloe, you really do seem innocent and sweet." I gave a confused hum, lifted my eyes slightly, and offered a bright, warm smile. "Why would you say that?" I pouted playfully. Sebastian rested his hand on his cheek, partially covering his eyes. "I'm just curious. How real is the sweetness you're showing right now?" I gave him a smile, deciding not to waste any more time with this strange presence, and stood up to leave, but he followed closely behind, gripping my arm forcefully and pulling me back. I was pressed against the wall, my wrists locked together tightly, his tall frame looming over me. I met his gaze, his dark eyes unreadable, like a deep pull that threatened to draw me in completely. I quickly shut my eyes, but he kept drawing nearer, almost feeling the rhythm of his chest against mine, warm breath brushing against my ear. The calm and composed image he'd carefully maintained was completely shattered. "Sebastian, or rather, not Sebastian at all." Closer to my ear, he murmured softly, "Long time no see, host." Fragments of memory rushed into my mind, slowly fitting together like pieces of a puzzle to form a clear picture. This world hasn't just been reset once. As the chosen one, Lucas has encountered many guides over time. First, Lucas wasn't as harsh as he is now. His parents' situation had made him naturally withdrawn from others. To collect energy from Lucas, the system sent guides to connect with him. Naive and trusting, Lucas unknowingly walked into the trap, gave his heart sincerely, only to be quickly and completely let go. All of Lucas's energy was drained, and the greedy system, seeking more power, triggered a reset of the entire world, sending everything back to the beginning. Lucas went through another painful journey, and the deeper his suffering grew, the stronger his energy became. This time, Lucas managed to avoid the first guide, but he never expected there would be a second, then a third. He was like a puppet pulled by invisible strings through life. Betrayals and hurt left deep wounds inside him. His heart felt hollow, as if pain had cracked open his chest and tears of crimson welled from his eyes. Later, due to the rise of a fortunate soul, this world gradually evolved from a small realm into one of the top 7 major worlds. A mere system could no longer control such a powerful being destined for greatness. No matter how many guides it sent, they were all returned defeated. The system couldn't stand Lucas breaking free from its control, so it turned its attention to me, standing right beside Lucas. Childhood friends, growing up together like siblings. Perfect timing. Couldn't be better. The system poured out all its energy to forcibly bind me, and just as the connection was complete, the mission succeeded. Overjoyed at first, it quickly realized it couldn't absorb Lucas's overwhelming power. Its tiny container would burst from the strain. It grabbed me and shoved me into its core. A square transparent box. I had to watch helplessly as Lucas searched for me, only to be told cruelly that Chloe didn't exist in this world at all. My resentment nearly shattered the system, while Lucas's corruption level surged rapidly at the same time. The situation spiraled out of control, forcing the system to release me back to calm Lucas down. Lucas's mind was on the verge of breaking down, and the world around him transformed. Skyscrapers crumbled into ruins, and the sky turned dark and desolate. His eyes had grown blurry from lack of energy. At that moment, I felt overwhelming anger, unaware of what Lucas had endured in the past, being stripped away again and again of his hearing, smell, taste, and even life itself. The process of losing them was painful and long-lasting, yet Lucas was forced to suffer through it over and over. My disappearance dealt him another devastating blow. Believing I had betrayed him, he used extreme measures to keep me by his side. On the verge of losing consciousness, I whispered to Lucas in a hoarse voice, "I didn't betray you." Those 6 simple words reignited Lucas's will to live. He had already decided to destroy the world and the system together, but changed his mind in an instant because of me. The world rebooted once more. The gears of fate began to turn. The system fled in panic. It could no longer support players checking Lucas's affection level. It only managed to warn others that Lucas had restarted the world before, and was now extremely dangerous. Look at those gullible ones. None of them could resist the comforting illusions Lucas had carefully crafted for them. Even after all it's been through, the system still couldn't let go. It fixated on the idea that Lucas belonged to it alone, so it planned to repeat its old tricks and reconnect with me. The overconfident system never expected that I'd regained a faint memory of my past life, and by the time I met Sebastian, I had already let Lucas know where I was. If nothing went wrong, Lucas should have arrived by now. It's time to bring this all to an end. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on my soft, familiar bed, staring up at the ceiling. What's going on? Don't tell me we're restarting again. I covered my face, refusing to accept what was happening. Then the door knocked, and I answered with no energy. "Come in." To my surprise, it was Lucas who walked in. "Chloe, you're finally awake. Still has time to tease me. Guess he's the winner," I thought to myself, but stared at Lucas in confusion. "Who are you?" Lucas had been walking toward me when he froze at my words, his eyes wide with disbelief. Then he let out a soft huff, and his expression instantly shifted: sadness, longing, even frustration. "Forgot who I am?" He gave me a sorrowful glance, his expression pained and wistful, yet he kept walking without slowing down. "It's okay," Lucas said with a mischievous grin, climbing onto the bed while unbuttoning his shirt. "I can help you remember slowly." I was stunned into silence, then quickly shoved him away, kicking my legs wildly. "Get off. What's with all this? Are you stuck in some over-the-top romance plot again?" Lucas dropped the act and let out a low chuckle from deep in the soft bedding, then added, "What's wrong with you? We were already supposed to be married." He trailed off mid-sentence, leaving it hanging. Back then, right at the wedding moment, I suddenly vanished without a trace. Lucas first thought I'd run away, and he searched for me in confusion. Everyone thought he was losing his mind, and the system erased my presence in this world. Only Lucas remembered me. Lucas and I both felt utterly broken. I was trapped in that strange place with no way out, forced to watch helplessly as Lucas ran around like a lost soul. We remained silent for a long time before I leaned back and turned my body slightly to face Lucas. His eyes, a little hazy with emotion, stayed fixed on me, as if waiting for me to say something. Suddenly, I remembered something important. I reached out and grabbed Lucas's hand, slipping my fingers through his and locking them together. I bit my lip and spoke slowly, one word at a time. "You really never asked me properly, you just dragged me into marriage." Lucas protested. "What do you mean?" "I didn't." "Exactly. There was no proper proposal, just dragged me into marriage. Fix the whole thing now." "All right," Lucas said softly, his eyes shining with warmth. "Miss, would you be willing to become my future wife? You're still just proposing straight out." "Never mind, just say yes already." Fine, I do." This mysterious system was completely disabled by Lucas. When it tried to absorb his energy, Lucas instead poured the entire world's energy into it, causing it to explode. Everything returned to normal, and Lucas and I finally started our college life together. Over 4 years, he successfully built his own business empire, took down several rival companies using clever tactics, and smoothly absorbed them without hesitation. Meanwhile, I lived a carefree and happy life. The real Sebastian woke up with strong suspicion toward me, the sudden younger sister he never asked for, because I wasn't as easygoing as Amelia, and he feared I'd challenge his position in the company. I originally didn't plan to take over anything, but pretending every day got exhausting. So Lucas and I came up with a plan together, set a trap for him, and made sure he'd never recover from the setback. Amelia wasn't willing to back down either. Her actions caused constant tension between our families. Even Lin family's parents had grown so frustrated with her that they refused to acknowledge her. And I found that outcome perfectly satisfying. No extra effort needed on my part. After living a peaceful and carefree life for so long, my mind started to wander. I'd been told by the system before that Lucas had been influenced by many people in the past, which made me feel a bit uneasy. To avoid any tension, I decided to just ask him directly. Lucas answered seriously. I was rather naive back then. After turning 10, none of them managed to succeed. After that age, I ended up leading them all. Otherwise, it wouldn't have resorted to extreme measures to bind itself to you. And it's not just one thing, it includes family bonds, friendships, and romance. First, I'd get drawn in as long as I trusted someone, but over time, the needs grew more complex, so they couldn't succeed anymore. Well then, I bit my lower lip slightly and raised an eyebrow. Then what about me? What do I need to give you? Lucas leaned against my shoulder, his fluffy head tilting slightly. You only need to meet one thing. Just stay by my side forever. We still don't know what this system is or how it came into being, but honestly, it doesn't matter anymore. It's beyond figuring out. This time around, Lucas was finally free from the system's interference and lived a truly normal life. But his thoughts kept getting stranger, constantly fixated on ideas like keeping someone locked away. I don't fully understand him, but I'm happy to go along with it, and even got excited about picking the place where I'd be kept. This villa is great. It's nestled by the mountains. Imagine waking up and seeing lush greenery outside the window. Just that alone would lift your mood. How come you seem so into this? You bet. It's been ages since I've had a chance to relax like this. I flipped to the next image. This one works too. Lucas's face turned dark, his frown nearly tangible. Can't you just replace your assistant? Look at him. He's staring at you like he can't look away. When exactly did that happen? He's just observing how I speak and act. Part of his job to understand the boss. Be more understanding, I said, looking up from the colorful villa pictures with a perfectly innocent expression. The sharp tension in Lucas's eyes flared with irritation. I just can't be reasonable. Are you going to change him? If not, I'm not going to let this go. Lucas pouted like a child. I ignored it and waved him over. How about this one? It's actually quite affordable. Seeing that he wasn't moving, I gently tugged on his sleeve, and finally he grudgingly leaned in to look. While going through the house options, I thought it might be better to find a new assistant. I could also help him get another good position. No one would be left out. The real reason? I was worried Lucas might lose control and act impulsively. Honestly, all this overprotectiveness. It's just something I've encouraged myself. I've decided to replace the assistant. I'll help him find a good job too. It won't be fair to leave him without support. Really? Lucas looked up quickly, his eyes filled with hopeful anticipation. I gently ruffled his hair and gave a soft hum, thinking how easy he was to comfort. Lucas leaned in with a tender kiss, and as we embraced, his clothes slipped slightly. I glanced at his strong, well-built frame, smooth lines, firm muscles without excess, a physique that radiated quiet strength. Outside the window, a full moon hung high in the sky, studded with twinkling stars. Inside, I curled into his arms and drifted off to sleep. Not to worry, our story has only just begun. About the system. In this universe, there are many worlds, divided into major and minor realms based on the strength of their destined individuals. In one of the major worlds, there was a brilliant but reclusive scientist. He created numerous systems to guide chosen individuals into different realms. tasked with helping those who were destined to turn against the world. That's because if a villain's dark influence grows too strong, their fate could overshadow the heroes and replace them as the central figure. If a fated individual becomes too prone to darkness, it can cause energy imbalance and disrupt the world's harmony, potentially leading to its collapse. To prevent such outcomes, the scientist initiated a mission known as the Anti-Villain Redemption Project. However, during system creation, flaws occasionally emerged. These flawed entities were systematically disposed of. Defect escaped from the disposal facility, unexpectedly awakening self-awareness and rewriting its own programming. From that point on, it began moving between worlds, drawing energy from fated individuals to sustain itself. Lucas was originally just a regular protagonist in a minor world, meant to live a peaceful life with his childhood friend Chloe. But Defect disrupted his parents' relationship out of idle mischief, leaving Lucas's early years filled with emotional hardship. The flawed entity also realized that the main character could be influenced, and the more difficult their life became, the stronger its own power grew. So it began to intensify its actions, creating a mother with unpredictable behavior, a father who was overly careless in relationships, and pushing the protagonist towards social isolation, leading to bullying at school. All designed to make life as hard as possible. In the end, it carefully selected someone to draw close to Lucas, approaching step by step with a clear goal: to drain every ounce of strength from him. Lucas's life was completely changed as a result.